Alright, so we are here and I've got Sajid for the first time on the English channel because he was doing something weird lately and that's using a lot of small phones. He was using the 8Z, he was using the Samsung Galaxy S22 and of course he was also using the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3.
Yes.
He was on sort of this journey that he was taking with these phones. What is happening, Sajid?
The market is flooded with pros and ultras, so I just wanted to see what mini smartphone has to offer.
That's definitely an interesting topic for discussion because that category is definitely a niche,
Yes.
wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So we wanted to discuss why the small phone category is not that popular, why big phones are very popular, but what is the allure of small phones, and we are doing exactly that in this video. If you don't know us yet, this is Track and Tech English. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever we put out an awesome new tech video. Sajid, let's define a small phone first because definition has become fluid over the years. So what do you think is a small phone?
For me, a smartphone ranges from like 5.9 to 6.1, 6.2 inch screen. And what makes a smartphone small is its display. Everything else revolves around it, be it battery, be it its footprint, be it its thickness, its weight. So everything revolves around the screen size only.
We can say that 6.1 inches is the ideal size for a compact phone.
Yes, it is.
Which is interesting primarily because then it puts the iPhone 13 and the Samsung Galaxy S22, even the iPhone 13 Pro for that matter, into a compact phone category.
Exactly.
So of the three smartphones that you've used recently, which one did you like? Did you like the 8Z or did you like the S22 or the Z Flip 3?
Okay, so it's a very difficult question, but S22 is the pick for me because it has 6.1 inch display, which is the best.
Which is at the
right Goldilocks zone.
at Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
That is correct.
I don't know what Samsung has done, but with 8 Gen 1 and smaller battery compared to S21, it gives around 4 hour plus SOT for
Which is good for us, compact smartphone for sure.
but without gaming.
Without gaming.
Yes.
How is the performance though?
It is quite good.
So that way it's good. And of course, one of the things that I like about the S22 is the fact that it actually does come with a telephoto camera.
Yes.
3x.
Yes. So whoever is thinking to buy S21, S22 Plus, he can get the same pair of cameras with S22.
I see your S22 and race you the iPhone 13 Pro. Obviously far more expensive, at least double the price, almost double the price. But again, I think that the S22 and the iPhone 13 Pro are in the same category. But what the iPhone 13 Pro does, at least in the compact phone category, is that way better battery life.
Yes.
Camera wise, I mean, it will be similar, but performance also is better.
Correct.
I think one of the best compact phones in the market right now is the iPhone 13 Pro, but I don't know even if people will consider it a compact phone in the first place. What did you think of the 8Z though?
Cameras are okay.
Okay.
Display is also okay. There are two things that I loved about this smartphone, that it has a headphone jack.
Okay.
And notification light.
Does the headphone? Interesting. Yeah, the headphone jack is of course a rarity today.
Correct.
So what did you think of the Z Flip 3?
So Z Flip 3 has a major issue for me because you always has to open it.
Right.
You can't do a lot of things on the cover screen.
Right.
There was this launcher, but with Android 12, it's not optimized yet.
What is the launcher called?
Samsung launcher something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what does it do?
So you can actually open any app on this cover screen.
That's interesting.
Yes.
So tell me one thing. If you get the Z Flip 3 but with a bigger display, would you consider it?
Yes, for sure.
But then again, of course, it will take an even bigger hit on the battery life, which is one of the reasons why I don't like the Z Flip 3 because the battery life is not that great.
Z Flip 4 is coming on 8 Plus Gen 1 with TSMC.
Right.
Things might change.
Things might change, hopefully. But I want to bring the question now, considering we're talking about the Z Flip, let's talk about the Z Flip form factor, which is the clamshell form factor. Do you think that is the future of compact phones? Considering that the Z Flip has sold a lot.
Yes. So it is a very practical form factor for me. I think I see a lot of potential in this form factor. The cover screen has to be more functional, given that it has smaller battery, so that people can make the most out of their devices on the smaller screen itself.
Yeah, that would also help them save battery. Actually, if you look at it, that's actually a good solution. Okay, so now that we've spoken about the Z Flip 3, the form factor, the smaller form factor and everything, there are definitely some advantages to using. Also, there are reasons why some people like the small phone, right? Every time we get a small phone, both of us are really excited for it.
The small phone looks different in this world of flagships or the giant smartphones. Yeah.
They're too big.
So there's definitely that. The other thing that small phones comes with, that it has a great one-hand usage.
Yes.
You can reach almost each corner.
I remember when Apple had launched the iPhone 5, they clearly mentioned about the 4.7-inch display being the ideal and you can reach with one hand. Yeah. I mean, do you think that you can reach, considering that the iPhone 5 had like a top bezel and the bottom bezel, I think with the 6.1-inch phones, you can sort of reach the top of the phone as well.
Yes.
I think reachability is definitely one of the bigger reasons why. But you talk about reachability, then I'm suddenly reminded of reachability being a feature on big phones like the iPhone, and you can have one-handed usage on certain Android phones as well. But I'll be very honest, Sajid. Okay, and I'll ask you this question as well. Have you ever used the one-handed mode on phones?
No.
No, right? Do you think anybody does?
I don't think so.
Okay, what kind of a phone holder are you? It might seem like a very stupid question, but you know what? I'll tell you, it's very vital for the sake of this discussion because I am somebody who actually does use the phone with one hand most of the times. And very rarely do I use, like this with two hands.
I don't remember I have used like this for a long time. Most of the time I use it with one hand only.
Right, and two-handed usage only when you're gaming.
Yes, or while watching something.
Right, correct. So in that scenario, obviously reachability does help, and then it makes sense for the software to have that option. Correct. But I haven't trained myself. I don't think anybody has. Let me know in the comment section below if any one of you has actually.
Interestingly, 8Z has a one-hand mode. Yes. I don't know who are these people who have like these very tiny hands.
Yeah, 8Z does have a one-hand mode. That's kind of interesting for sure. While all that is great, reachability is great. People with small hands will obviously love using a small phone, a compact phone, if you will. But there are definitely huge disadvantages to actually using a compact phone, and that is
for me. The first thing is we have discussed a lot about battery. But if you're paying 50, 60, or 70,000 rupees, and if you want to watch something on the smartphone, everything just not there. Like you miss a lot of things. The small screen is small.
Right.
You also cover most of the speakers while holding the smartphone.
That is true. That is something that I didn't think about. That is very true.
I have three big disadvantages with small phones. The first being smaller display, which makes multimedia consumption painful.
Right.
And even for that matter, gaming.
You talk about gaming. Let me just interject for a second out there. One of the reasons why I'm using the iPhone 13 Pro is because it's compact. The moment this green one came in, I was like, no, I'm taking this one. I really wanted to use it, so I picked it up. But we've started playing a lot of Apex Legends.
Correct.
And then I moved to the iPhone 13 Pro back again, just because that little bit extra screen estate sort of helps.
Correct. Especially in Battle Royale games.
That is true.
Yeah.
Especially in something like Apex Legends, for sure.
The second thing is, again, battery. It's just not about the smaller battery. It's about painful, slower charging speeds.
Oh, yes. That is true as well, because generally, most of these compact phones don't come with that 120 watt or, charging solutions. Correct. That's not possible because the split cell battery technology.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So it just makes a lot of compromises in battery section also. But one more disadvantage it has is cameras. Two camera setup, dual camera setup, or triple camera setup with depth or macro sensor.
Correct. So that's definitely a good point, except for the fact that the S22 and the iPhone 13 Pro do have decent camera setups for sure. Coming to big phones, right? I mean, big phones obviously have a lot of disadvantages as well. One of the reasons why I don't like big phones is that they're generally almost always slippery or unwieldy to hold. The moment I said that, Sajid picked up the iPhone 13 Pro Max. That's how much he finds it uncomfortable. I find the S22 Ultra uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very slippery.
It is very slippery, for sure.
Also, what do you think about the flat sides?
Okay, I have a very specific opinion on this. Is that the flat sides, if they are exactly flat, right, like this, then obviously it's like very cumbersome to use, and I need a sort of rounded off case to use with it.
Correct.
On the other hand, a flat side on something like the Samsung Galaxy S22 has nice curvature to it.
Yes.
So it doesn't feel as, that it's digging into your palm.
Correct.
So that's something that I like about it. But I mean, flat sides, big screen, big body, unwieldy.
Battery.
Yes. I am a big guy, and yet I don't really like big phones that much because of this specific reason. I think, what is your ideal sized phone that you've used till now? What is the ideal sized phone that you've used till now? Considering that we're talking about small phones and big phones have their own trade-offs. Small phones have their own trade-offs.
My Goldilocks zone is 6.4 to 6.5 inches.
Yes, something like the OnePlus Nord.
Yes.
I would say, that makes a lot of sense. I think the iPhone 13 Pro, the 13 are also small for me, actually.
Yes. There are lots because in iPhones, notch takes a lot of space.
That is correct. The notch does take a lot of space. Do you think that once when the iPhone 14 comes out and when the 14 Pro and the Pro Max will have that pill-shaped notch, will that change your perception?
It might.
It might change your perception. Correct. And that also brings the question of why the iPhone mini line is not doing well.
Minis are gone.
Yeah, minis are gone technically. There won't be a 14 mini this year.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing, right? I mean, last year one of the most selling phones was the iPhone SE.
SE.
Yeah, so that is a much smaller phone.
Correct.
And that brings the point, and which we were talking about, is the fact that the iPhone SE is a much smaller phone for sure, but people are still buying it because it's also more affordable.
Correct.
It's powerful and affordable. That is where the
Yes.
Goldilocks zone is,
Yeah.
according to me, with respect to the price and size.
Correct. Also about the mini, it is too small.
Okay, the mini is too small, yeah, 5.4.
Yes.
Interesting, but the SE is not.
No, because it has bezels.
Interesting point.
So it has bezels. Whoever the user is, he has some room for the screen. The most of what happens with mini, as most of time, your palm takes a lot of screen state
While using it, because there is no bezel space to sort of distinguish that.
Yeah.
So you seem to say that if there are very few bezels around the display, like thin bezels around the display, they should have a big screen.
Yes.
That's a very interesting perspective. Do you guys agree with that? Do let me know in the comment section below. Do you think that the SE will transition to the mini form factor in the future, considering that you've said this now?
I think they will.
If they will, then would you be happy with that? Considering that you've said this, I'm presuming no. Yeah, you probably will not be happy with that whole thing. But there are a lot of people who are saying that the SE will not transition to that size. Maybe probably will not happen either.
Apple always surprises.
Apple always surprises, that's right. So we don't know. But the SE lineup is here to stay. And I think it makes a lot of sense for the 14 to have the 14 Max, the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max.
Yes. For the mini iPhones, I feel in India specifically, we as Indians, we want more for what we are paying.
Right.
So for 65 or 70,000 rupees, mini smartphone feels like ye kya kharid liya?
Right. You don't really get, your money's worth for 65, 70,000. So you think that, okay, then that brings me to the point of the Google Pixel 6a. Do you think that will be a smallish phone, 6 inch, 6.1 inch?
Yeah.
See, now that would be ideal, right?
Correct,
I mean, at the around the 45,000 price range.
Yeah. Also, Google is not cutting on chipsets, so it has a Tensor chipset.
So that will also be powerful as well, hopefully. One of the things that I also wanted to ask is that, do you think there is a need for, budget and mid-range compact phone?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. A big yes.
Big yes, right? I mean, there is absolutely nothing in that price range.
Correct.
Do you think there is an audience for it?
I think there is. Brands should experiment in that category first.
Okay.
Directly shooting for flagship.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Directly, instead of shooting for flagship directly, they should probably, look at the mid-range category, the 20, 25, 30K range. Yeah, I think that would actually make a lot of sense.
In that category, the compromises seems fair.
Okay, alright, that covers most of what we want to talk about small phones and big phones. But before we end the video, I have one specific question for you, Sajid. Will you continue using small phones?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, you're privileged. You have other big phones available as well. But if you had no choice, you had to live with a small phone, would you live with it? Like the S22?
No.
See, I put you in a spot. I'm good at doing that. Well, I realized that no, even I won't be able to live with a small phone. Even something like the 13 Pro, I will probably make the compromise, of the reachability issue, of the unwieldiness, and actually use a big phone. And that is probably the reason why it's a niche.
Yeah, like people say in EV industry that battery anxiety is a thing.
Right.
But I think with small smartphones, battery anxiety is a thing.
It is definitely a thing. Battery anxiety is definitely, and until battery tech actually evolves to a level where it can give you great battery life in that form factor, I don't think people will sort of switch to small phones soon. So that's our takeaway. I'm pretty certain that you guys have a lot of opinions and thoughts as well. This is first time Sajid's been on camera on the English channel. I'm pretty certain that you guys want to see more of him. Let us know what kind of topics you would like for us to discuss. Sajid?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he definitely loved our conversation again. Until next time, this is, Airshot signing off. This is
Sajid.
All right. Keep tracking
and stay
safe.